has structured its strategic framework, and within its 5 strategic objectives. So we have mainly 2 strategic objectives that are eradicate hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition, and reducing rural poverty. So within the aim of reducing rural poverty, FAO aims to strengthen government capacities in designing, implementing, and monitoring social protection systems that benefit rural households and those dependent rural livelihoods, and establishing linkages with wider rural and agricultural development and food security and nutrition efforts. So FAO structured itself creating a social protection division where I work. I'm working now. I joined the team recently, mainly to develop country support together with all UN agencies that mainly are here and partners who work in developing countries, and also to raise awareness, knowledge dissemination, and exchange to put light on the results achieved when we link social protection programs with agriculture and rural development schemes. FAO is also committed to the social protection floor, led by ILO, which is also human rights based. So FAO mainly aims to strengthen government capacities in designing, implementing, and monitoring social protection systems. And when we see the rural households, we see that the most vulnerable people are, we know, the subsistence farmers, informal workers, artisanal fishermen, indigenous people, rural settlers, and people who live off extractivism. So they have a fragile security in terms of living conditions and access to water, food, and house, and sanitation, health, and education service, mainly in rural areas. So within them, of course, the most vulnerable are women and children. And they are mostly invisible in rural areas. So when we see the main challenges in social protection, we still see the problem of lack of land, insecure tenure, unstable work, including child work. So we're still facing, after years and years, our problem of land inequality distribution. So we think that raising social protection programs and linked to human rights based on human rights, we can, of course, improve our work together. So our main challenge now, I think, regarding universality, as my colleague said here, so the next step is to raise social protection programs coverage. They are very, we face a low coverage of the social protection programs, mainly in developing countries. And for this, of course, states need to raise self-fundings. It's not possible to depend mainly on international cooperation resources. So this is one key point, how to raise self-funding for developing public policies to raise coverage of social protection programs. But no, we don't need only, how can I say, broad programs. We need to diversify them. There are models, there are schemes, because society is diverse. So there's no possibility to reach all of our challenges regarding poverty and human rights with only one instrument or only one type of program. So we need to diversify. But to diversify, of course, we need to dialogue. We need to build it from bottom up, not top down. So we need to build permanent councils, permanent spaces of dialogue within society and states. And this, an active and conscious civil society, from my point of view, is key to human rights approach. So what I want to say is that we know what to do. We have many recommendations from UN agencies and working groups and reports. We have the Human Rights Support to Social Protection developed by Madeleine Sepulveda, which defined 30 recommendations, which are very up to date. And so our problem is not what to do. We need to. The problem is how to move forward. So. And maybe establish at each event and in each opportunity a common agreement on the main goals to move forward progressively, so as not to rewind. So just to finish, from my point of view, the goal of our work is a situation in which the poorest people know their rights and are able to advocate for them. So public policy must not be viewed by beneficiary as a favor or a charity from governments. People don't need to owe anything to authorities, mainly votes. So it's equally important that the authorities know their human rights obligations and that are capable of implementing them. So this is very difficult to monitor, yeah? But this is the main goal. So I think the only way is to insist, and we need to make it clear all the time in all possible spaces that it's their right. Public policies are rights, are human rights. Thank you.